Hey, this is Schuyler from themixingprocess.com, and in this video I want to clarify two terms that a lot of people use interchangeably and get confused and mixed up on, and that's gain and trim. What's the difference between the two, and how do we use them appropriately in their different applications? Before I get into that, I made a whole different video on gain, really going in depth into that subject, how to set gain and preamps correctly. I'll put a link in the description below so you can find that video easy. But in a nutshell, gain refers to the analog conversion of the mic level signal to a line level signal via the preamp. So what that means is it takes an analog signal that, like my voice, the mic converts it into a low level digital signal, but that digital signal needs to be amped up. It needs to be a strong signal before it can actually be processed. So that's what a preamp does. It adds voltage to that signal, actually converting it into a high level signal that we call line level. That's what a preamp, that's what gain does. Now with trim actually refers to a digital attenuation of the volume after the preamp. So there's no conversion involved. It is merely a volume control. It happens after the preamp. So when do we use gain and when do we use trim? You would use gain in the example that I just gave. So my voice, an analog signal being converted by the microphone, needs to be amped up by that preamp in order to be processed. So you would use gain in a situation like this. For trim, you would use when you're dealing with an incoming digital signal, like from a computer or something like that, where that digital signal is too loud or too hot before it comes in. And even without the preamp turned up, with it all the way down, it's still going to be too hot. But it's a digital signal coming in, so you're going to use trim to modify that signal in order to balance it out where you can process it correctly. Now at this point, you're probably wondering about pad also, because pad is another thing that we can use to decrease the signal before processing. A pad will turn a signal down by usually 10 or 20 dB before it gets to all the processing. So when would we use that? Well, you would use a pad for an analog signal that's too loud with the preamp all the way down. So an example of this would be maybe a drum mic. If you have a snare drum that's being hit really hard, even though that drum is an analog signal, it's not a digital signal like the computer is. With that signal coming in, if it's too loud, even with the preamp all the way down, we still have to find a way to turn it down before it can get processed. That's where you would use a pad. It's an analog signal. You would use a pad to modify that signal. So that's kind of a breakdown of those three terms, how they're defined, and then also what their application is and how they differ in that. So hopefully that was helpful for you, just to break that down and explain it. If you're new to this mixing process, you're trying to learn all these terms and learn how to use EQ and compression, I have a guide on my website, themixingprocess.com. I think it would be really helpful for you as you're learning this process. It will walk you through gain structure setting, EQs, compression, working with effects, balancing faders, all of those different things packed into one systematic program, and it'll walk you through how to do that so that you don't get confused, don't get lost in that process. I think it'll be really helpful for you as you're learning this. So go ahead and go over to my website, themixingprocess.com. You can download it completely for free. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.